Hi! Today we're talking about Split Croatia, where I have done all the research so you don't have to. Choosing a destination is only the first step in planning your dream European vacation. After you've chosen where to go, all the hours of research, planning, and booking begins. This can be frustrating and overwhelming. I will cover all the exact itineraries, logistics, expert tips and tricks so that you aren't burnt out before you even depart. This video is part of the larger Croatian itinerary, and I'll put the link right here. In that video, I think I give you 2 days, and in this video, I will go over everything that you can do in Split, and then I'll have another video for day trips. If you have more time, I would spend more time than 2 days here. There are so many wonderful day trips that you can go do and see and places to explore. So if you have the time, spend probably 3 or 4 days here if you can. Split is the second largest city in Croatia, and it's set on the shores of the Adriatic Sea on a stretch of coast that's called the Dalmatian coast. It is literally built into the ruins of an ancient Roman palace, so you can stay, eat, and shop and walk around. Pretty much an open-air archaeological museum, which is really cool. It doesn't feel like a museum though. It's a vibrant city with great history, culture, music, food, and a great nightlife as well. Split can get really busy in the summer months, especially if there are cruise ships in port. It doesn't get quite as busy as Dubrovnik, but it still can get pretty crowded. Best time to go is the shoulder season. Winter is nice too. It doesn't get too cold, but it can get pretty bad storms off of the sea that can be chilly and rainy, and some things might be closed or have shortened hours as well. So a little history, Split dates back to ancient Roman times. The city traces its origins to the massive Diocletian palace complex built by the Roman Emperor Diocletian at the turn of the 4th century AD, and it is still the heart of Split. After abdicating in 305 AD, Diocletian chose to construct his lavish retirement palace in his hometown on the Dalmatian coast. About half of the palace was used as his home, and the other half was used to house military personnel. The palace included large stone walls and towers to help protect the emperor. Temples, homes, and other buildings surrounded a central courtyard. Throughout the years, the palace remained mostly intact. When the nearby town of Salona, the capital of the area, was ransacked in the 7th century, its residents fled to Split for safety and refuge, building homes and businesses within its walls. This allowed Diocletian's palace to become an integral part of the city rather than ruins on the outskirts. Medieval Christians also built churches within the palace, such as the Cathedral of Dominus, which incorporates Diocletian's mausoleum. Over time, Split continued evolving as a coastal city under Byzantine, Croatian, Venetian, and Austro-Hungarian rule until it became part of modern-day Croatia. The ancient Roman palace as its core makes Split one of the best preserved Roman monumental buildings still standing and used in the world today. And in 1979, it was declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. I'll talk at the end of the video about how to get to Split, but let's talk about what to see and do while you're there. So the first thing you're going to want to do is, of course, walk around the old town, which includes Diocletian's palace. The streets are paved with polished limestone. It's a really quaint and charming area to walk around with churches and squares and beautiful buildings throughout. So the peristyle is the main square of the palace and is located at the crossroads of 2 main streets. It's surrounded by ornate Corinthian columns and was used for gatherings and other ceremonies. The peristyle originally provided access to the emperor's personal living quarters, and Diocletian's mausoleum, which is now the Cathedral of St. Dominus, is on one end of the peristyle. Originally, Diocletian built 3 temples in the peristyle. The Temple of Jupiter is the only one that remains to this day. It was later turned into a Christian baptistry. The peristyle is a great gathering place. Most evenings there is live music played there, and so it's the perfect place to cap off your evening just sitting around enjoying some live music and the atmosphere in the peristyle. The Cathedral of St. Dominus is known as the largest cathedral still standing that exists in its original form. It was made out of the mausoleum of Diocletian. I think it's really interesting that Diocletian's mausoleum was turned into a Catholic church because he is the last Roman emperor that was persecuting the Christians. It is dedicated to Saint Dominius, who was a martyr that was beheaded by Diocletian in the 4th century. The building was converted into a church when the area was taken over by the Ottomans in the 5th and 6th centuries. And then in the 7th century, with the sacking of Salona, relics from the Salona church, which included the relics of Saint Dominius, were brought to Split. Because the church was originally a Roman building, there's an interesting blend of ancient Roman style mixed with later Christian styles. The interior of the church is circular with 4 semicircular and 4 rectangle niches, and the outside is actually an octagon. Inside, under the dome, sits 8 granite pillars that were originally part of the mausoleum. Along the walls are beautiful frescoes and mosaics depicting Bible stories. This is still a working church, and regular masses and religious services are held here. The treasury holds the relics of Saint Dominius, as well as paintings, chalices, centuries-old books, and valuable vestments. The Temple of Jupiter is now the baptistry dedicated to John the Baptist. It contains a bronze sculpture of John the Baptist, as well as a baptismal font and 2 sarcophagi that held the remains of 2 bishops. The headless sphinx that sits in front of the temple is thought to be one of 12 that Diocletian brought from Egypt to decorate his palace. Under the cathedral is a small crypt called the Crypt of St. Lucy, and every year on December 13th, there is a mass performed in this small crypt in dedication of her. The bell tower has become a symbol of the city. It's almost 200 feet high and can be seen from many parts of the city. Building of the bell tower began in the 13th century, and it took almost 3 centuries to finish. Because of this, each level of the tower is different, showing the differing styles over time. It was largely renovated during the early 20th century. This renovation removed some of the details and sculptures. It is available to climb and gives you some of the best views of Split. The beginning of the climb is a little bit tight, and if you're claustrophobic, it might bother you a little bit. There is an entrance fee to visit the church. You can visit the church, the baptistry, the bell tower, the crypt, and the treasury, and prices vary depending on which of those you want to see. It's open from 12 to 6 on Sundays, and it's open from 8 to 8 all of the other days. The basement halls of Diocletian's palace, or the cellars, are some of the best preserved ancient complexes of their time and are a great place to learn about the city. They were used both as storage and to elevate the emperor's chambers. Later, they were used as residences with parts of an olive oil press still visible. The cellars eventually became garbage pits for the homes above, but they have since been cleaned and restored and can be visited by the public. You can enter the cellars by the stairs in the peristyle or through the Porta Aina at the promenade. If you are a Game of Thrones fan, you might recognize the cellars as one of the filming locations. The central hall of the cellars is actually a market, and that is free to go through. It sells all sorts of souvenirs and other fun things. If you want to see the rest of the cellars, you need to pay €6. St. Martin's Chapel is one of my favorite hidden gems in Split. It's a little tiny chapel built between 2 walls of Diocletian's palace. It's more the size of a closet than a traditional church. A nun is usually keeping watch over the chapel, as it is currently in the care of the Dominican sisters who have a monastery next door. This area was originally a hallway used as a guardhouse, but in the 6th century it was converted into a chapel. The Riva or promenade is a beautiful area running right along the water. This is a harbor front walkway lined with palm trees, and it's a local favorite and the perfect place for taking a stroll. You'll find ice cream or gelato stands, cafes with outdoor patios, street performers, and boat offerings for excursions. The promenade is always lively, but it really comes to life at night when the whole town seems to come out to enjoy the water, food, and the atmosphere. If you're looking for a beach, this beach, sorry I can't say it, is just a short walk from Old Town, and it's a sandy beach, a beautiful place to spend an afternoon and relax. It is actually the home to, this game. This game is played in shallow water where you use your hand as a paddle to smack the ball in the air with other players. You have to make sure it doesn't fall into the sea and is kept in the air as long as possible. So picture tossing a balloon to a group of people, except with a small ball in shallow water instead of a balloon. There is even a World Cup held here every year in Split for this game. There are restaurants around the beach and rentals for lounge chairs, umbrellas, jet skis, etc. It can be pretty busy in high season, so come early if you're looking for a quieter experience. This area does become a bit of a party place at night, as it is kind of the local hangout for the teenagers. If you want a quiet break from the city and to enjoy some beautiful views, head to Margin Hill. This is just west of the historic Old Town. It's a small peninsula of urban forest, and it has walking trails, churches, cafes, and little beaches tucked away in coves. One of the best panoramic views is only about a 20 to 30 minute walk from Old Town. It can be a little tiring, so rest along the way and enjoy your surroundings. If you want to see more of the park, a wonderful place is the 15th century church of St. Ger or St. Geronimo. Beside the church is a little hermit house with one line of windows sandwiched in the rock. This is a wonderful place to catch the sunset. It'll take you about an hour from Old Town to walk over to St. Geronimo. If you're looking for a local market, head over to Pazar Market. It's just on the eastern side of Diocletian's Palace by the Silver Gate, and it is held daily. Close to the palace, you'll find more of the souvenir type of things, some cheaper products, mostly made in China. But closer to the port is where you will find all the fruits and vegetables, meats and cheeses. The local farmers produce all the products here, so everything is seasonal. Just be aware that in high season, the prices can skyrocket. It's usually open from 7 till around 2. A good tip for saving money is to go later in the day, anytime afternoon really. The vendors will be much more inclined to bargain as they are trying to get rid of all of their products. It will also be much quieter at that time if you don't like the crowds. But of course, if you want the freshest food, you need to get there early in the day so you have the most variety to choose from. If you're wondering which vendor is the best, follow the local grandmas. They're shopping there all the time. They have all of their favorite vendors and they know which ones are the best. There are a ton of great day trips to choose from Split. You can go to Var Island or Broch or inland to Kirkin National Park. Again, I'm going to cover all of those in more detail in another video. So let's talk about how to get to Split. There are a lot of different ways you can get there. By air, of course, Split has an international airport. It's about 15 minutes outside of the city center. This is Croatia's third busiest airport, and it's well connected with many flights from within Croatia and Europe. Some flights, though, are just seasonal and only run in the summer months. Once you land, there are a couple options to get into the city center. Of course, you can take a taxi or an Uber. Another option is a shuttle bus. These run regularly throughout the day. They pick you up right at the terminal and drop you off at the main bus station in Split. They're about €6. It takes about half an hour, but they usually only depart from the terminal once they're full, so you don't really know how long that will take. It's usually not too much time that you're waiting though. The cheapest way is by local bus. It's about €2 or €3, and you take bus 37. You catch that bus in the road in front of the airport, not at the actual terminal, and you can buy the tickets right from the driver. It takes you to this bus stop. It's not the main bus stop in Split, and so from there you'll have to take other local buses or a taxi or walk to your final destination. It takes about an hour to get in to the city center using the bus, just because it has multiple stops along the way. Another option is to take a water taxi. This is a great option because it drops you off right at the main port, which is right in the center of everywhere you want to be. It takes about 30 minutes and costs €30. The only problem with that is that to catch the ferry, it's about a 10-minute walk from the airport. Another great way to come to Split is by ferry. So there are a number of ferries that come in and they drop you off right at the main port, which is the perfect place to be. You can get a ferry from Italy, from Ancona, Italy. It takes about 9 hours. You can also get a ferry from Dubrovnik, which is about 4 hours. And then, of course, from some of the islands like Var and Broch. Arriving by car is really easy. We always rent a car when we go to Croatia. They have a really well-connected highway system and it's easy to drive around. Of course, you don't drive when you're in Split, but you just park your car and walk around. But it gives you the freedom to go do other day trips or to get around on your own schedule. Bus is a great way to get to Split. The buses in Croatia are reliable and pretty inexpensive, and it's well connected to places all over Croatia and even some neighboring countries as well, so that's a great option. You can also get to Split by train. Croatia doesn't have the best train connections. It's pretty sparse, but Split does have a few. There are direct trains from Zadar, Zagreb, Šibenik, and Dubrovnik. You're going to really love your time in Split. If you'd like me to custom design a perfect itinerary just for you, check me out at my website at eurotravelsbydesign.com.